We light this first candle in honor of the first people. May the sun bring you new energies by day. May the moon softly restore you by night. May the rain wash away any worries you may have, and the breeze blow new strength into your being. And all the days of your life, may you walk gently through the world and know its beauty. We light this candle in honor of Taoism. Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. We light this candle in honor of Christianity. What I know of the divine sciences and holy scriptures, I learned in the woods and fields. I have no other masters than the beeches and the oaks. We light this candle in honor of Judaism. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. We light this candle in honor of Buddhism. Peace is every step. The shining red sun is my heart. Each flower smiles with me. How green, how fresh all that grows. How cool the wind blows. Peace is every step. It turns the endless path to joy. We light this candle in honor of Islam. The world has been created primarily so that God may be known, remembered, and loved. We light the final candle in honor of Hinduism. Nature's beauty is an art of God. Let us feel the touch of God's invisible hands in everything beautiful. By the first rays of the rising sun, the universe is stirred. The shining gold is sprinkled on the smiling buds of the rose. The fragrant air is filled with sweet melodies of singing birds, and the dawn is a dream of God's creative fancy.
Today's reading is by Ernest Holmes. There is always the greatest possibility available to you. There is a divine strength and an infinite wisdom at the center of your being, ever waiting to be released, that will enable you to put more into life and living and to take more out of it. A limitless creativity exists, expressing through all that is. It is always seeking a fuller channel of expression through you. Recognize that it exists and accept its actions in your life. If you will take these words into the silence for a few moments. God is present right here, right now, in every single person's heart, every person in this room, and every person in all this world. God is everywhere, everything, every word spoken by every prophet, everything that is in this world and beyond. And we are part of this magnificent creation. We are all part of this divine spirit. We are limitless. We are creative, and we are productive citizens of the world. I am thankful for this time. I am thankful for everyone who is here. I am thankful for this music ministry, for Reverend Cece, and all that transpires. And together we say, and so it is.
First of all, I have to say that Stephanie's last name is Stewart, not Smith. Her wife's name is Kim Smith, and sometimes I get them all scrambled up and all together too often, and my apologies, Stephanie Stewart, for that. Sometimes, you know, sometimes our brains are so crisp and clear, and other times they're just not. They're just not. So during this whole year, as many of you know, we're looking at our global vision, which is why it's hung on the wall out there. We see a world that works for everyone. And each month we're looking at a slice of it. And for August, our slice of the vision is this. We see a world which has renewed its emphasis on beauty, nature, and love through the resurgence of creativity, art, and aesthetics. There are so many reasons to focus on beauty, on nature, on love, on creativity, on art, on aesthetics, including the fact that we find our highest and truest, the reflection of our highest and truest self when we see beauty. We spend a lot of time being bombarded by things that are not beautiful. And that's not the truth of who we are. When we see beauty, when we find ourselves in nature, we love what we see, what's reflected back to us. Another reason is because, as the reading and the candle lighting reading said, we are the nature and quality of spirit itself, of this creative impulse of the universe. That is our highest self, and being creative is part of its expression through us. And in our society, we often don't have enough bandwidth, if you will, to be creative as we'd like to be. Finally, when we share our highest vision for ourselves through our creativity, through our art, through whatever it is that we do, our writing, through the beauty we create around ourselves, you know, it raises the beauty level of the world and also gives other people permission to allow their creativity full reign. What it has to do with creating a world that works for all life is, first of all, when we focus on the beauty, on the nature, on the art, we quite naturally begin to care about what we see and care for what we see, so that we care for the beauty of the world and the preciousness of nature. We care for those we love, and we let it inform what we do. And then what we do is for the highest good of all concerned, not just ourselves. But, you know, obviously, if we care for what we see and what we love and the beauty in the world, we preserve it. We preserve it. Because, frankly, and I think we all know this, unless we do care enough and long enough and large enough, pretty soon there will be a world that doesn't work for anyone. And I don't know about you, but when I think about those kids in the back, I want them to inherit a world of greater beauty, not less beauty, of greater creative expression, not less. So when we allow our creative power, which each of us has, whether we admit it or not, because often I tend to think that since I can't paint or draw, I'm not creative. We're all creative. We're all creative. When we allow our creativity to be focused by our vision, focused on and through love and connection and caring, then we automatically and intuitively begin to do things that open a way for our whole culture to move in a direction of a world that works for all life. We are way showers. We are space givers. We give each other permission by who we are. We give other people permission to be more who they are. So I read this story the other day I want to share with you. It's about a criminal defense attorney. His name is Alex. And, you know, trial attorneys are used to being very assertive and wielding their authority and trying to get trying to get their way, right? And making themselves heard and being pretty obsessive about life in general. And I know I used to be one. So later in his life, Alex became obsessed with mountain climbing. And he finally traveled to Mongolia to climb Mount Kuten, which is almost 15,000 feet peak in the Altai Mountains. And because of who he was like really anxious to get to the top, right? He wanted to charge up the mountain so that he could get to the top and look out and see Russia, China, and Mongolia, all of which are visible from that mountaintop. So the first day, that's what he focused on. Getting upward, moving towards the peak. He just focused on getting there. The second day, he was already pretty weary because he charged up the mountain the first day. He started to settle into a rhythm that day of just one foot in front of the other. Not anymore so focused on the peak, but on the one foot in front of the other. And pretty soon all he could hear was everybody's breathing and the clip-clop of the ponies that were, the hooves of the ponies that were carrying their gear. On the third day, they camped on a plateau and Alex realized he was no longer even sure why he was there. Everything started to drop away. The need to get to the top. He sat there in this wind that hadn't slowed down for anybody for centuries. And all of a sudden contacted something he'd never contacted before. The obsession to get to the top, to win, to prevail, his history, his work, all that stuff sort of fell away, and he realized that he was simply a part of life, that he was a part of living, and that was all. So a big storm came up and they never did make it to the top, and it didn't even matter to him because he got what he came for. What he had come for was to witness the authority of his own being, of all being. And that's something that can happen to any of us without going to Mongolia. It can happen anywhere. It is a state of consciousness. But it often strikes us when we're out in nature. When we're away from the desk and the computer and the cell phone and all of that stuff, with this primordial life that is our planet, this deep authority of our own nature and being can rise up into our conscious vision. And that's why nature is so important to us. That's why, there are those of us who will do anything to protect wild places and wilderness, places we can go to get away from the busyness and the worrying and the striving and just let it all drop away, and places where we can be left with only our own being. And that's also why it's so important for us to create space in our lives to listen, which is another rare commodity in our communities of electronic attachment and long work hours and busy families and all that stuff. When we become still, we start to hear things we don't hear otherwise. We don't hear in the busyness. Not only just become still, but enter into this active thing called silence. I think silence is not just being still. I think it's a state of very deep listening to life, very deep listening for what's going on around us. When I go somewhere to be still, which I do several times a year, the first day or two are occupied by the monkeys that live in my head, right? I mean, they're swinging from tree branch to tree branch and making lots of noise and throwing rotten fruit at each other and just carrying on, one thought and then another thought and then another thought. And after a while, one of the monkeys will lie down and go to sleep. And a little later, maybe another couple will lie down. They might still be grooming each other, but at least they're quiet. And eventually, they all go to sleep. And then this shy animal that lives within us, you know, it will make itself known to me when things are quiet enough that it feels safe. The soul, the shy animal that is really us. You know, imagine that you're on a river paddling a canoe and you're chatting with your friends, and then pretty soon the chat starts to drop off, and pretty soon you're silently gliding down the river and you start to hear the hum of insects, or the flap of a bird's wing, or the rustle of the leaves in the breeze, and you start to take on this deeper listening to life that's all around us. And so you just sit there in that state of hearing for a while, and imagine then that you hear this lone howl that goes out over the whole valley and kind of echoes around. It seems like it's coming from far away, but it sort of casts a spell over everything. And that is the voice of your own being, and that's sort of how it approaches us from somewhere where it's stored within us, but it has to wait until it's safe enough and quiet enough to speak to us. And when we get to that state, what we realize is that our being is part of being itself, of all being. Our being is intertwined with being everywhere. The being of the turtle on the log, and the heron in the stream, and all of that. We've all had glimpses of it, because that howling never goes away. It's just really quiet, and we have to calm other things down until we can hear it. We have to choose to enter into that state of listening, that is silence, in order to receive its wisdom. There was a Santee Dakota Indian who lived in the 1800s. His name was Ohiesa, and he said, "We," meaning his people, "we believe profoundly in silence. It is the state of perfect equilibrium, the absolute poise or balance of body, mind, and spirit. Those who can preserve their selfhood, ever calm and unshaken by the storms of existence. Those in the mind of the person of nature possess the ideal attitude and conduct of life." Nature with a capital N is, in my mind, the same thing we're talking about when we talk about spirit, God. You know, in the mind of a person of God, that balance of being unshakable is the ideal attitude and conduct of life as well. So that we are attuned to the voice and the authority of our own being. And even when things look rough on the outside, we are unshaken. So that even when other people might look at us and say, "Well, you're a mess," or "Your life is a mess," we know we're not. We know that we're not, because being itself is never in trouble, is it? It's just always being. And when we can find that within ourselves and listen to it and stand there, then nothing will really rattle us all that hard. We'll walk through it. We'll walk through it in a way that inspires other people to be able to do the same thing without losing it, without stressing out, without winding up ill from stress, or snapping at everyone, or all those other crazy things that we do. And to be able to perceive that power, that voice, that equilibrium, that authority of our own being, then we simply have to give ourselves the chance. We just have to. I am a huge believer in the inner teacher within each one of us. And the inner teacher is the place where wisdom lives, where the answers lie, and we light that up in each other. That's all we do. We don't teach each other anything. We facilitate the inner teacher that each one of us has. And we do that when we give ourselves the chance to become still and to really enter into that conscious decision, which is called silence, that active listening, and then our natural creativity starts to express itself more and more and more, and we start to share who we came here to be with the whole world. And our hearts begin to understand that we're giving ourselves this opportunity, and that some people around us wouldn't have the first clue as to how to give themselves that opportunity. And that if they did have a clue, they might never do it anyway because they're too frightened of what they might find. And that helps us to understand. That helps us to live from the heart, from the love, from the wonder of life itself, so that we're letting someone know by our very being that it's okay. That it's okay for them to look within themselves and to find who and what is there and to let it out. Because they're the only one who can. Each one of us is unique and precious. And each one of us can only give the gift that we are. No one else can give it for us. So we give each other permission in all of that when we simply become these places of calm assuredness that other people can kind of, you know how when you walk into someone, into the presence of someone who's like that, you sort of automatically trust things because they're so quiet and calm and unruffled and welcoming and loving. When we are love in the world, then we give people permission to listen to that, listen for that wild voice of the soul. And when we hear that for ourselves, we begin to act and think differently about being, about life with a capital L, and we start to become more protective of all of it. We make our choices not just for ourselves, but considering all their ramifications. Go to the ramifications of how much I drive or fly, how I consume things, what I eat, what kind of policies I support. All of that, we start to align ourselves with all being, not just our being. And then what happens is, around us starts to grow up a world that works for all life. So here are some ideas that I find in my own life that help me to move to the place where I can hear that voice of authority that comes from my own being. It doesn't come from anywhere else. Just practices that sort of keep me. The frustrating thing about it is you can't make it happen. You can only let it happen. And so these are some practices that sort of keep me available to pick up on it when it does happen. You know, every day I try to find something beautiful to look at, to behold, to really take in, whether it is a flower or a plant or a snowflake or a star or a leaf or another person. When we make it an intentional practice to behold and celebrate the beauty of creation, we start to see things differently everywhere. You know, when we look for the divine design and it becomes a habit of ours, we see it everywhere we look. You know what I mean? You get used to seeing things. You start to look for them and you find them everywhere. You find them everywhere. Look for ways that express the creativity that lives in you. Is there something you've always wanted to try but never have? Why not just do it? Why not just do it? Take up zip lining or skydiving or learn to swim or paint or sing or cook something you've never cooked before or wear something you've never worn before. Get a scarf in a beautiful color you've never dared wear and wear it with pride. Or get a new ball cap, guys, from a team that you haven't ever supported before and see what it feels like. I mean, whatever it is that takes us out of where we always walk into some moment of creative expression is good. It's really good. Teach our kids for a quarter. You know, once a month for a quarter. Teach our kids. See what happens in your life when you do that. See, our youth will wake up your creativity because they run around exuding it all the time. They will expand your heart. They will blow your minds. Set aside time to just be still. Enough time that you get past just the stillness into that place where you can choose silence, that active listening that is silence. And just listen. And then listen some more. If you have a specific question, ask it, but don't ask it till you reach that place where you're willing to really listen for the answer. All too often we ask the question and then zip off to the next thing, and the answer's got no place to reach us, right? If you can hear in the silence, see if you can hear in that silence, that state of open awareness, that howl of your own soul, the thing that wants to move you in a new direction. What does it tell you of yourself? What does it tell you of your being? What does it tell you of being in general? And find some way, some time, to spend some time with the green and growing life of the world. You know, whether it's a trip to Hocking Hills or a walk in Sugar Creek Preserve or even a trip to the park. You know, when we get away from buildings and screens and telephones and all of that, we listen in a different way. And we start to hear insects that we didn't know about, or bird song that we've never heard before. I heard this just this morning. I was out with my dog and I heard a song I have never heard before. I never did see the bird, but the song was breathtaking. What we hear when we do that is the voice of life. And that's our voice. It's the voice. See, we're created by this intelligence that created us with a flourish, with a magnificence, with a beauty that's meant to be carried through to life itself. And nature expresses it so beautifully, even when it doesn't look like a flourish. I mean, you can look at the cardinal, you know? Consider what a flourish the cardinal is. But consider the female cardinal in winter. She's kind of an olive drab till you see her beak. And it's this flash of gorgeous orange, and you just kind of go, wow, wow, she's beautiful. She's absolutely beautiful. Consider the wolf, the tiger, the blue heron, anything that sparks your fancy and makes you just sort of go, that is a flourish. That is magnificent. That's me. I am that. I am that magnificence. And when we let that magnificence wake up in ourselves, when we start to hear its voice, we thrive on it. We thrive on it. It's sort of like, just makes us come alive and get juicy again. When sometimes, you know, life is not so juicy. But that little bit of information from the soul, from the authority of our being, makes life flower. And we thrive on it. And our world thrives on it too. We are creative beings whose lives are destined to fulfill the magnificent, the beautiful, the awe-inspiring, the very creative expression of life itself. And that is the authority of your being. So my invitation to you this week is to simply let yourself get in contact with that. Make a way for it to reach you. Make a way for it to touch your heart. And give it space in your life. Give it space in your life so that the nature that you are, the very nature of God itself, can make itself known in our world. So I invite you to join me right now in simply turning within for a moment into that deep place of calm and peace that exists at the center of your being. It is the place of deep listening. And if we spend enough time there, we begin to hear voices we've never heard before. But what I know for sure is that this place of peace, this place of stillness, is the dwelling place of Spirit itself within each one of us. It is that spark of divine life that inspires us, that signals our hearts to beat, and our lungs to breathe, and our brain waves to function. It is also the same power that keeps the earth in its orbit and the galaxies in their sway so that everything just keeps moving along, expanding and flowering and expressing God wherever we look. I know this is true of me, and I know it's true of every person here. Each one of us is a magnificent, perfect, complete expression of being itself. And all that we can do, all that we do to let that being express itself fully through us is creating a world that is more beautiful, more serene, more love-filled, more filled with beauty than ever before. And so I know we each just lean forward into that expansion. We listen actively for the voice of our own soul. We say yes to it. We allow it to move us into an even greater expression of life and love and beauty and magnificence than we have ever had before. And in so doing, we discover that joy that is beyond the merely temporal and worldly, but is the joy of our very souls. I know this is the truth for each one of us. And so I give thanks for it. I give thanks for knowing it. I give thanks for our time here together this morning, celebrating it. I give thanks for all the beauty that each one of us will see today and tomorrow and the day after that, as we allow beauty to transport us into a larger expectation of beauty, into a larger expression of beauty, into a larger being of beauty. And in gratitude, I simply release these words into the infinite law of the cosmos. That thing which always says yes to us. That power which always supports us and supplies us. That love that holds us in infinite tenderness. I release it, I let it go, I let it be. And we say together, and so it is.
I'm just a thread, a simple thread in this glorious web of life.
We are all just drops within a stream, flowing towards an ocean of light.
We may forget where we come from. We may forget where we're going to. I might not see that you're a reflection of me, as much as I'm a reflection of you.
I'm just a seed,
A blessed seed with eternity unfolding in me, and I pray that as I grow, I will reveal the love that illuminates my soul. When I remember where I come from, when I remember where we're going to, then I will see that you're a reflection of me, as much as I'm a reflection of you. This is my simple prayer. May I become a reflection of the
now have an opportunity to give in support of our spiritual center and its work. Everything that you give makes it possible for us to be here on Sunday and to provide a space for meditation and workshops and provide a place for our kids to learn how magnificent they are. So I invite you to just take a breath right now and think about all that is here for every one of us and all that you are blessed with in your life. And just be grateful for a moment. And know with me, my heart is open.
My heart is open.
I give from my open heart.
I give from my open heart.
I know that as I give, I am given to.
I know that as I give, I am given to.
And I am grateful.
And I am grateful.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Heard that before, have we?
We sang one time at, long
Huh.
time ago at, what the,
Earth Day or
Okay,
something?
that's the
Cool.
word.
Great song.
just like ours.
Oh, I have a couple of quick announcements for you, and everybody hates announcements, but they will let you know what's going on around here, so I just wanted to tell you about that. Our anniversary celebration is coming up it's the 25th of September, and the 24th is the day here with the practitioners of spiritual practice, vision boards, pet blessings, all that kind of stuff. We're going to have pretty soon for you a whole program that will outline all that, so keep your eyes out. But if you want to help us make that event really spectacular, please join us in the library after service as we're putting sort of the final touches on our planning for the whole thing. And if you can't make it to the meeting or you're willing to help with the food or whatever, just let me know and I will put you on my little list. And pretty soon we'll be giving out, we'll be saying, can you cook this, can you make that, etc. In your program is a flyer about the 2 classes we have coming up in September. The first one is Beyond Limits, which will be facilitated by Becky and co-facilitated by Linda Andriaco. It is a class that will change your life, I promise you, and rock your world. That is a prerequisite class for other classes. The second class will be Practical Mysticism, facilitated by Lenza Smith. And it's a wonderful class. It's a whole lot of fun. Sign-up sheets are sign-up sheets are over on the bulletin board for those. The classes are where you can really hunker down into your spiritual practice and craft one that works for you and allow your deep transformation to begin. So give yourself the gift of a class to enlarge your spiritual awareness. September 10th is our our Centers for Spiritual Living World Day of Service. We'll have 2 projects, one at the VA and one at the Oasis House. We need 5 to 6 people at the VA on September 10th, so look at your calendars and you can talk with Linda Andriaco a little bit more about that if you want to. I think we're going to go down and do something with the guys in the rehab section of the hospital, so you can talk with Linda more about that and hopefully join us all there. Speaking of service, there are 2 opportunities here at the center available. First of all, our kids need you. Our youth program is in the process of expanding and making it so that we have 2 people with each age group. And so we've made it really, really easy. You don't need a lot of special training. You don't need a lot of special knowledge. Everything is going to be prepared for you. And we just need a second person in many cases to be there and watch those kids unfold. It's beautiful, it's breathtaking, it's wonderful. You can call the office and talk to me, or you can talk with Angie Smith or Linda Andriaco about helping in the Youth and Teens program. It's a wonderful opportunity. The other opportunity is with Chris Folker and the Facilities Improvement Team. Chris, I saw you a second ago. Where are you? He's in the social hall. Anyway, the Facilities Improvement Team just keeps the building humming along. And so if you can give an hour or 2 once or twice a month and help them keep the building in shape, please talk with Chris or Teresa Napke about it. She can pass it on to him if need be. They have a lot of fun together. It's a great close-knit team and obviously very, very important. So other than that, please take a look at the last page of your bulletin insert and the extra flyers about the things that are happening. There's a lot coming up in the next couple of months. And join us in the Consciousness Cafe, which is just down the hall to the left a little, after service to, to have something to munch on and just partake of some companionship from your fellow community members. If you would like prayer after service, look for any of the people in the teal or the white prayer shawls. They give you as a gift a moment of prayer after the service. You could also put a written prayer request in the prayer box, which is back by the door, and we'll pick it up after service. Kathy has an announcement about the Dragons game.
Hello, everybody. The Dayton Dragons game, we were scheduled to go today. It is still on. The weather is supposed to be only a 15% chance of rain from 2 until 7, and then start heavy again. However, I am going to call the office at 12 o'clock when they open. Just make sure that things haven't changed and they haven't delayed the game to another day with rain. And also want to talk to any of you going, if you don't really feel like being out in the chance of rain, to let me know. I can let them know that we do have people that really have a hard time being out in the weather, and I'll let them know and see if we can get the game postponed to another date. So please check with me right after service, and then at noon, in about 15 minutes from now, I'll be calling the office and getting you a status update. Okay? Otherwise, I have all your tickets here. Thanks.
Thank you, Kathy. Let's see, the practitioners are meeting in the classroom after service, and the 70th anniversary team will be in the lending library, which is just across the hall. So I will see you at both of those meetings. I'm practicing my bilocation today. Thanks to everybody who made today possible. Our fabulous, fabulous musicians you guys rock. They're just amazing. They're amazing. To our ushers and greeters, to our practitioners and the welcome team and the cafe team and all of you, thank you very much. Let's stand for our closing affirmation and our closing song, which is Holy Ground. So please repeat after me. Today I listen.
Today I listen
For the call of my authentic being.
for the call of my authentic being.
I allow its free and full expression
I allow its free and full expression
in every part of my life.
in every part of my life.
Life is beautiful,
Life is beautiful,
and so it is.
and so it is.
Have a wonderful week, everybody.